arrive safely. Ann, how's it going? At least it's sunshiny today.
Yeah. Has it been bad weather, stormy?
No, it's been relatively nice.
Yeah.
And you're heading down to Douglas?
Yes.
Alrighty.
And I can tell you.
I live in the Holland area.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we might have to take a detour. I don't know if they have the westbound side of M6 shut down. I know they have the eastbound side of M6 shut down. So
Really? Well, the road needs work.
it does. I'm assuming though they're just gonna probably just do the patchwork that they always do on M6. So
Yeah. No, the area right when you get off 196 is so washboardy.
yeah, it's tons and tons of fun. So are you coming back home then, or?
Yes, I was in Greece.
Oh, okay.
And our flight, I haven't flown through JFK for decades because it was so awful.
Oh yeah.
And it was awful. Everything took longer. I thought I was going to miss my flight, so ran from the gate, got through security pretty quickly, but and then our flight was delayed.
Oh,
So we got into Atlanta late by over an hour from the departure time for the Grand Rapids flight, so I missed it. But there were a lot of us. In fact, the guy sitting next to me was on the Greece flight.
Oh wow.
So.
Like what was it, last Friday I believe, that they must have been having really bad weather down in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
Because there was so many delays, and one of the last, usually Southwest, their last flight of the night is usually 12:45.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to hang around the airport anymore. Then you can go drive.
They're done. Yeah.
The last Southwest flight didn't get in until 2 a.m.
Oh no.
And it was from 9:30. Like they'd canceled all the remaining ones, and I was like, wow, it's like that.
Well, the flight I should have been on was a Delta, and it should have gotten in at 11:45, but I heard that it did leave late by about 30 minutes. Not enough to help us, but.
Right, and I always, when I sit up here at our staging area for the drivers is at this Wendy's, and so I always tell the other drivers, they're like, oh, I just use Google to find out when flights are coming in, and I was like, Google has a 30-minute delay, and if there's a delay on the flight, they're like, well, how do you know? And I was like, I use Flight Stats, and it's just an app that you can download.
Yeah, I don't know that one. I've used FlightAware before.
Yeah, it's a lot like FlightAware.
Yeah.
And it just lets you know if there's a delay,
and
and the time of arrival, and I like it though. Like I was like, you know what, that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. It's always fun. You know, I might actually get stuck in Douglas once I bring you down there because you know Uber's out there now. So
I know, but apparently there's now an Uber area for the lakefront. I don't know where it goes exactly, but one of my neighbors who drove me to the airport drives for Uber.
Okay.
And he said they just added.
Yeah, they from Muskegon all the way down to New Buffalo.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is the third week now, and I mean business is starting to slowly gain some traction. It's going to take a while, obviously.
Yeah, it'll take a while. Yeah, because getting to the airport, then I haven't, apart from this neighbor, or my husband is my usual airport driver, but he's away. So this neighbor drives for Uber, and otherwise I haven't heard of any. There's no taxi. There's no
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I guess you could call like Tulip City Taxi in, but they'd probably charge you $25 just to come pick you up.
Yeah.
Just to go down there, and then additional to come back out.
I know. We've had this vacation home that now is our permanent home. We've been living there for 45 years, but I haven't flown so much out of here. And we moved though. We had an offer on our house in Kalamazoo out of the blue.
Okay.
In the fall, so we moved in late December, and the limo service that I used in Kalamazoo said, "Oh, sure, we would come get you." But the cost was just outrageous. I said, "Okay, I don't think so."
Well, and luckily, one of the big things it was 2 days after Travis Kalanick, the CEO of Uber, when he took his leave of absence. Uber sent out an email to all the drivers and said, "Hey, we're expanding the areas by 150 miles." And so I was like, okay, wait a second. There's not 150 miles between like Grand Rapids and the Lakeshore. I was like, there's just not there. I was like, it's about 60 miles total going all the way out to the lake. And also I looked at their heat map, and it's Muskegon, Grand Haven, Holland, Saugatuck, Fenville, South Haven, Benton Harbor, St. Joe, all the way down to New Buffalo.
Great. Yeah, I haven't tried it yet. I'll have to see it.
It's a little hit or miss, because obviously, although those areas are available for Uber now, there's not always drivers available.
Yeah.
And a large part of it is, you figure 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, when Uber first came to Grand Rapids, and Kalamazoo and everything, people out in those areas were trying to get Ubers, and it said Uber's not available in this area.
Yes, right.
So they were like, oh, well, I can't get an Uber.
Yeah, I can't get it. Yeah.
And so it's slowly gaining traction. There's a lot better. Like tonight, if I drive in the Holland area, I'll get a lot of trips down to Saugatuck, and then back up to Holland, and then back down. And
right.
It doesn't.
Well, that's smart that people are doing that instead of driving.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've driven through Saugatuck before.
Yes.
Cops are on every corner.
Yeah.
And they just sit there and watch, and they don't even try to hide. They'll park in a broad viewing spot, and people are just zipping on by.
Yeah, and I know that helps our taxes for them to collect all those fines, but
But yeah, like last 4th of July weekend, Grand Rapids was super dead.
Really?
It just wasn't a lot of business because everybody went out of town. And so I was like, all right. I was like, what can I do? So I was doing a couple of airport runs, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna swing home, eat some dinner, and then I'll go back out to Grand Rapids. Maybe it'll be busier. As soon as I turned my app on for my back porch, I was getting pickups in Holland, and I was like,
wow, interesting.
Right. I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just run a couple of them.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
So it on the weekends it definitely picks up.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like Saugatuck, Fenville, Holland, and Grand Haven, those are very touristy type cities.
Yeah.
And I wish that they would have had Uber available maybe during like the Tulip City or Tulip Time Festival, but at that time they didn't have it planned out yet. So
now, how about Lyft? Are you seeing much competition from Lyft? Because Delta's pushing it.
Well, Lyft is available there as well.
Yeah.
And so I mean they're both available to be done.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a lot of like 95% of the Uber drivers are Lyft drivers, and vice versa.
Okay, so everyone's doing both.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's one of those nice parts with the independent contractor status.
Yeah, you can
technically do both.
Yeah.
But I've always stayed very, very busy with Uber.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I know my my neighbor's sort of ambivalent about it.
Yeah.
But, because he lives down, and we're out on the river, out of Douglas, so much closer to Douglas than, we're like a mile into Douglas.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing. Like I've got a buddy that he'll run both apps at the same time, and I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, that's like a moral conflict of interest for me. He's like, well, some passengers have both apps up and request a ride, and whichever one gets there first, then they just take that one. I understand that thought process, but I don't know. It's
well, and Uber hadn't been in Kalamazoo too long before that crazy guy.
Yeah.
He didn't tell any of his passengers.
Yeah, it was random people, and it was and that was the thing. Like Kalamazoo took the Kalamazoo Uber market took a big hit because of that.
Yeah.
And it was
my son doesn't drive, so he drives his son around. His son is 7, so he didn't want to be unsafe.
Yeah.
And the mother was really upset about that, but that's how he's got to get around.
Well, and that was the thing. When I think of I get asked all the time by passengers oh, do you have your CCW? And I was like, I don't need it.
Yeah, what's a CCW?
Just your concealed carry weapon.
Okay.
And they always ask me if I have that, and I was like, no.
Concealed carry.
Yeah. And I was like, nope. I was like, I don't need it. They're like, well, why not? And I was like, well, if somebody wants to, let's say if somebody wanted to rob me,
that's right.
they're going to get a $100 phone, a $30 phone, and a 2007 Hyundai Santa Fe.
I'm with you. But I'd rather just not have any around.
That's right.
And avoid the risk of accident.
Well, exactly. And I've had some interesting rides. I've given a lot of rides, and I've had some rides that have.
I had a late night ride from the airport to a woman who said she likes to do, she and her husband sort of cover the daycare and the child care for the kids, and so she takes the night, and she doesn't mind it, though she was a pretty big woman. But I just thought, boy, I don't know if I'd be that brave.
Well, the late night crowd is a very special crowd.
Yeah.
Very special crowd. I was using my older sister's car before I got this, and I was picking up a young lady from a bar downtown in GR.
Yeah.
And there was 2 guys that were intoxicated arguing next to the window, and I was like, oh, 2 drunk guys arguing, ha ha ha, and I turned my head, and all of a sudden my back window gets busted out. And the one guy, he grabbed onto him and, shoved him through the window. So I jumped out of my car, and I'm doing a Hulk Hogan thing. I was like, and he's running, and I'm trying to chase him down, and he had that drunken fear going on, so he was fast. So I ended up, I had to walk back to my car, and the girl that came outside, she must have thought that maybe she's like, oh my God, windows busted out, doors wide open, hazard lights on, my driver was killed. So she calls the police. By the time I get back there, they're like, is this your car? And I was like, yep, this is my car.
Yeah. Oh boy.
But,
yeah, that's a little more exciting than I'm like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That was way more excitement than I wanted to have, for daylight savings. I was like, oh man, I did not want that to happen.
Yeah, how would it have been? With crazy drunk guys.
And that's the thing, when you have a situation like that happens, and if I ever give rides to other Uber drivers or Lyft drivers, I always tell them, I was like, you gotta have fun with it. I was like, otherwise, you're gonna be like that guy in Kalamazoo, and and then it's not good for anyone.
Yeah, right.
I want to say it was a month ago, there was an Uber driver in Chicago. He had picked up a young lady from Walmart, and she had stolen a knife, and she stabbed him.
Oh no.
And
oh my God.
he ended up, he stopped the car, and he ran up to an apartment building or whatever, and, got a hold of the police, and they could catch her. But by the time he got to the hospital, he died of his injuries.
By the time he got to the hospital, what?
By the time he got to the hospital, he succumbed to his injuries, and he died. And it's just situations like that, it's risky on both.
Risky,
on both sides, it's very risky. You never really know the kind of passenger you're picking up. And you just kind of have to be like, oh, okay. But
on the Holland Saugatuck run, I would assume you could get drunk, but you wouldn't get mileage.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't think the people out there last weekend, I mean, everybody was just having a good time.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were just out drinking, having a good time. And I didn't feel physically threatened by any of my passengers. And I don't know, it's just one of those things. Like I always tell passengers, you know, if you feel unsafe with the driver, you can open up your app and you can cancel the trip.
Yeah.
And if you cancel the trip, it'll ask why.
Interesting.
And you can say, hey, look, my driver made me feel unsafe. Maybe he was swerving in and out of, traffic, or doing some super illegal driving or something, whatever it was. And it'll get taken care of. And if you're in immediate danger, there's an emergency button inside of your app when you're on a trip.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, I called an Uber. We were in Greece. I called an Uber when we were at the Acropolis Museum.
Okay.
And so it said it was going to pick us up right up front. I asked the guys at the exit area, where I've been here picking us up. They said right up there. But it was not a driving street. It was a walking street.
Oh.
So there were three of us, and we were running all up and down the block. It was 110 degrees out.
Oh, yeah.
And we never did find the guy, so he canceled, and I was charged €3.
Okay.
And, but it looked like I actually had a credit for it, so I assumed that it would come out of your pocket, but Uber is paid.
Dependent on the situation, like, if the driver canceled after, like, let's say he had waited 5 minutes, then the driver's eligible for the cancellation fee.
Yeah.
But if it, like, what Uber does is they'll go back and they'll re-review, like, the GPS data.
Yeah.
And if the data says that he wasn't close enough, within 100.
He didn't make the pickup fee.
Yeah.
But he couldn't have. I mean, while we were waiting, the car did drive down that street.
Okay.
But it wasn't our car.
Okay.
So we just kept running around trying to find where this guy was. And then finally we decided, we went to a cafe that had internet.
Okay.
And we called it from there. So it was a clear location and
Well, see that's good though. Like, then if it did give you a credit for it, it might be because
it looked like they did.
Yeah, Uber might have went through and said, okay, to get the cancellation fee, you've got to be at that spot within 100 meters is what it's supposed to be, within 100 meters of your pickup.
And we were there, and he definitely didn't. We had one person waiting there, and the other two of us were running around trying to find him. And it was a long block, so it was a lot to run in the heat.
Oh yeah, especially at 110 degrees.
That was amazing. When I first got out of the Uber that we took to there, I mean, it just sort of blew me back. Took my breath away.
So, was this the first time you visited Greece? Or?
No, it was my second time in Greece.
Okay.
And the last time was pretty long ago. It was fun. I had a meeting on one of the islands.
Okay.
But before that, I was staying with a friend, and there were three of us staying there. And she was in the northern suburbs, a really lovely area. But in the whole visit, we didn't see. You read the news about Greece, and you would have thought everyone there was in poverty, and we just didn't see that at all.
Well, that's
we certainly
good.
didn't see more poverty than you'd see in Grand Rapids or right. And Athens is a huge city. And then there were these really prosperous suburbs. I mean, the first day I went out for a walk with the other two of us, all from the U.S.
Okay.
And, we walked down the block, and there was a TGI Fridays, and
Oh wow. Well, that's cool though. Like, I mean, and that's good. And it just kind of goes to show that sometimes, the news that gets reported, kind of manipulates things to.
And the funny thing was, the next day, and I can't remember if this was, I think it was, no, it was an Uber guy that took us into town.
Okay.
But this guy's talking, and I'm thinking, that is not a great English accent. It's an American accent. So I said, you sound like your accent is American. He said, yeah, I grew up in Chicago. But his parents were from Greece, and then when they got older, they wanted to come back, and he then followed him back after a little bit. But
sad though about this highway. Like this is the youngest highway in Michigan. This is our newest highway.
This is outrageous. This little patch.
Yeah.
It's just outrageous.
Like I think they constructed this highway in what 2001, 2000 something.
I think it was a bad contract.
Yeah, you know, and we have other highways that have been around much longer that are in way better shape.
Yeah. No, it's not a good job, and it just sort of happened over the last year. It's just been pushing things. Yes, I think it was a bad contract.
Oh yeah.
We lived in Chicago for 20 years, and there you could just tell. You know, somebody had got. They made a low bid, and they didn't have what they were doing. They have to redo them.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like I mean, and contractors, or the companies that set out for the state, they've got to realize that when these contractors are building these highways, it's going to have millions and millions and millions of cars on them.
Yeah. They have to make it count.
Yeah.
If they don't know how to do that, they should get the contract, however cheap it is.
Exactly. You know, like that's this what's happening downtown in GR off of Ottawa Avenue
Is that right?
and Bridge Street or Michigan
Yeah,
Street.
yeah.
You know, and every year they have to redo that spot right there.
Really?
And I get it. There's a lot of car traffic through there. There's a lot. But if they just did it the right way the first time.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it really says that they're not paying attention to doing it.
Because for this highway to be, what, 20 years old,
Yeah.
it shouldn't need this much attention.
Yeah.
You know, and like, you could drive down M37 heading more toward like the Baldwin area, and it's still in relatively good shape, and that's been there for a long
For a
time.
long time. Yeah.
You know, and it's just things like that. Like, and like with my girlfriend, we went down to Chicago for St. Patrick's Day weekend. She didn't understand why
I was there that weekend too.
Yeah, she didn't understand why the highways got so nice once you got outside of Michigan.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and so I was like, you know, they have tolls, and the tolls have to pay taxes.
yeah.
And I was like, and it helps to, you know, maintain the roads a little bit better.
Right.
You know, and I mean, like in the Michigan City area, they're still relatively decent.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, all right, yeah, and you know, as soon as you get into like heading northbound on 31, like you already know that the road, like the highway starts getting rough and
Yeah, it gets
ugly
bad.
looking. It just cuts off at a certain spot, and I'm
Right.
like, yep. I was like, this is how you know you're back in Michigan, baby. I was like, if you don't know where the state line is,
No, I think we're rated in the worst 5 or something like that for roads.
yeah,
And it's, you know, the worst states should be in the north that has all the problems with freezing and
yep.
but for us to be worse than Minnesota and Wisconsin and, you know, so there's
Exactly.
something wrong here.
You know, and I get it. Like I said, I know that these highways have a lot of traffic on them, but there's, like in California,
Yeah.
Their
Now,
traffic
there
is-
are materials that you can use
Yep.
that for cold weather that will accommodate the shrinking and
Yep.
swelling, and you just have to do it right. You have to have people who know what they're doing.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing. I know that they're on time constraints. You know, they have X amount of contracts that they're supposed to do every year. You know, and I understand that. But when I look at them doing construction, it's usually a very small force that's doing it. It's not
Yeah.
a sizable amount of people.
Right.
And they always cover like long stretches too, and they do it. And I'm like, oh man, I was like, if you're going to use such a small group of people to do it, then you should cover a little less of an area at a time.
So what's that slowdown? I don't need to come back up here again.
I think that's the M6 changeover. Because
Okay.
when I
Six,
came out,
yeah.
when I came out this morning, I took Byron all the way down to Wilson, and that's
Yeah. I have to come up to Costco.
where. Okay.
Some might know that I'm back, but so maybe I'm just going to come soon.
But yeah, I would definitely like when I did it. Instead of even jumping on 96 when I was coming out, because I live on the south side of Holland,
Yeah.
I just jumped on to Byron, and I took Chicago Drive down to Byron, and I was like, you know what? I was like, that'll work for me.
Yeah, see, I don't know the roads enough. I guess I could. I don't know. So, what app do you use to tell you where this road?
Well, this is Waze, and typically, like it'll
you do
show.
Waze. Yeah,
Yep.
a lot of people do Waze. I should get that.
Well, like I like Waze because it does give you the ability to see, you know,
Yeah.
like if there's police around
Yeah,
or
yeah.
if there's a car stopped on the side of the road.
Yeah, that's the police thing I've heard people comment on. The Waze is really helpful.
Well, when I first got Waze, like when it first came out, it was like it let you know if there was a speed trap. Like it said, police up ahead, speed trap, and I was like, what? And I was on my way to pick up a passenger. Well, this guy came blowing by me in a Mustang, about 95 miles an hour. He got pulled over, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, they did an update like a week later, and that feature was gone. Like it wouldn't announce like a speed trap. It would just say, police ahead, visible or invisible. So I don't know if they maybe got into trouble for that with in other states or not, but I saw like, and it's really beneficial. Like if I'm on my way home at night and I'm just like, oh okay, and I'm watching people just zip on by me, and I'm like, oh, there's a cop like a mile up the road,
right?
And all of a sudden I see him pull somebody over, and I'm like, oh, that could have been me. Thank God it isn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it. Like I love the app, and you can always report when there's things going on. And
that's great. I'm gonna get that one.
Yeah, it's relatively good. I mean, it's like I leave my phone plugged in all the time, anyways, because the Uber app, it drains batteries on phones. Like you could have a phone that gets a charge life for like 3 days, and Uber will drain your battery. Like I remember one night I was out driving and my charger cable had broke, and I was like, oh, I'll just get one in the morning. I'll have like 2% battery like when I'm done. Nope. It lasts about half the night, and my phone was down to 1%. And I was like, oh wow. I was like, I can't even take any more trips. I had to go home and charge up my phone. And
that's one of the things. I want to get a new phone. And I want to change my phone service.
Who do you go through for your phone service?
I have AT&T now.
Okay.
And because I travel a lot internationally, I think their international service just sucks.
Yeah, I could agree with that. And then that's the thing. Like if you're going to be traveling internationally, you're gonna want to carry that kind of compensation.
So I've been asking people that I'm traveling with what they've got, and I think I'm going to switch to Verizon. T-Mobile is pretty good too, but it's more spotty in rural areas.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was just going to say, like the T-Mobile network, like I go through Metro PCS, which is the sub company of T-Mobile. In the city areas, it's great.
Yeah, it's also great internationally. T-Mobile is probably the best internationally. And I've had them before, but then, the price of bad service.
Right, and that's the problem. Like you said, in rural areas, it takes a while before it'll try to bounce off. It will not try to put you into roaming unless it absolutely has to.
Yeah.
And so before it tries to bounce you off like a Sprint tower, it's gonna sit there and try to ping out, a tower from T-Mobile that's 70 miles away, and it's not gonna be able to ping it. Like I had a trip one night that I picked up the young man from the Walker area. He wanted to go to Big Rapids and then into Muskegon Heights and then back into Walker. Well, after we left Big Rapids on our way to Muskegon, you're going through Hesperia and all that, and I told him, I was like, dude, we're gonna lose cell phone reception through here. He's like, how do you know? And I was like, well, because I was like, Metro PCS and T-Mobile does not work really good in these rural kind of areas. I was like, it just does not work well. And sure enough, and so I had to get it corrected with Uber about like the distance traveled. Like I was like, look, just because it appears that I stopped moving, I was like, I didn't stop moving. I was like, it's just my cell phone company does not like rural areas. Like I would say that Sprint is probably the best for rural areas.
Is it?
Yeah.
My son has Sprint.
Yeah, and you could be in the middle of the sticks. In Sprint, you could at least get one bar of service enough to make a phone call. And when I lived over in Whiteley by the Baldwin area, I had gotten a Boost mobile phone when they first came out, and I could be up there, I had great service. Not so great in the cities. I mean, it was still good in the cities, but it was very good in the rural areas.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that.
But every carrier's got like really specific strong points.
Right.
And like with T-Mobile, they, like I said, they're absolutely amazing in cities. Usually, every phone call I'm on is pretty clear. People can hear me and I can hear them just fine. And for the most part, it does hang very well. Heading like on the highways, like it does a good job of bouncing off of towers, but
the last straw for me with AT&T was a recent trip earlier in June to Canada, and I purchased I wanted it to be able to use apps for driving.
Yeah.
And so I purchased the service, and it was crap. I mean, I could see that I was on this Canadian network,
Yeah.
but it would go from 0 to 1 bar back and forth, and I couldn't get the minutes. And that was the whole point of it. In the town of Stratford, they had Wi-Fi everywhere.
Okay.
It was, community Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so you could connect to it, yeah.
Use it. So it was ridiculous. I did complain about it. They didn't totally pay me back, but they did, recognize it to some extent. But it was just useless.
Okay.
And in the meantime, my sister and brother-in-law were on, and my husband has AT&T too, but only I got the special international thing because he was going to drive. But they had Verizon, and they had everything, and they had just. They also live in Mexico in the winter, so and Verizon has a deal with Canada and U.S. that you get it in your whole package. It's free.
Yeah,
It's just like being in the U.S.
Well, that's the
They
thing.
have
Like,
perfect service.
like with Verizon, they have very good reception
Yeah.
worldwide.
Yeah,
okay?
worldwide. Yeah.
And that's very good. Like
Yeah.
you could be
And
down
that's what I've learned. So I'm just gonna switch.
And I mean, it's nothing against AT&T. Like, I mean, I don't know, it just AT&T's customer service has declined, over the
I think
years.
it's declined. Yeah.
And it used to be like really good.
Yeah.
Like I remember when my mom used to she had her cell phone, she had an AT&T cell phone.
Yeah.
It was a really good service. And then
Well, and the reason I got them initially was that they were really good. They were good around the U.S. and they had a great international package.
Yep.
And now, theoretically, I have the international package, but it's nothing. It's just nothing.
well, that's the thing. Like I think that if a cell phone company is going to offer like an international package,
Yeah.
they have to have enough towers to support that type of bandwidth. Which, like with Sprint, that's the one their downfall
Yeah,
for
they don't
Sprint.
have enough.
Like the network that they use is
Yeah.
the CDMA network, which is an old
right.
it's an old network.
Yeah.
And a lot of the networks now they use GSM because
Yeah,
it allows.
that really has become the international standard.
Like I have yet, like in the past, I don't know, 3 years, I've yet to see a phone that doesn't have dual SIM card slots.
Yeah, you're right.
And one of them is meant for the U.S. based customers, and one is meant for
Yeah.
international.
Yeah, and U.S. last.
And it's supposed to be if you have both SD or both SIM cards inserted.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be able to cross over
Right.
into Canada, and
Right.
your international will just take effect. And it's supposed to theoretically not have a hiccup in your service.
Yeah.
But like you said, you were bouncing between 0 and 1.
Right.
And
It's
that's
totally useless.
right. That at one bar that is pretty useless. Like you're like, what am I
And
gonna
I did
do?
the same thing a year ago, and it worked. So that's evidence of your statement that it's gotten worse.
Yeah. And it's just I don't know. I think the AT&T kind of tries to rest on their instead of improving their network, they're just kind of letting it just go stagnant. And as networks are getting better, it's just it's getting harder for companies like AT&T to compete.
Yeah, I think so. Well, now you can look at all these websites
Yep.
that will compare the service and learn everything you want to know.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not measuring up.
And that's the thing. Like I always tell, like when people are like, well, who do you go through for your carrier? I was like, I was with Sprint for because Boost Mobile is owned by
Yeah.
Sprint and Nextel. So I was with Sprint from 2004 up until last year.
Yeah.
And I switched to the T-Mobile network on a recommendation from my buddy. Like he's like, their network's faster, and I was
Right.
I never buy a phone that really requires, and I never really had updated phones. Like I was just like, this is whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I went into to the Metro PCS store, and because I switched over, when they were switching me, they're like, do you know your account number? And so we had talked to Boost Mobile, and
That's what I've heard, that T-Mobile is offering to buy out contracts
Yep.
and to give you top of the line phone.
yeah, well, and it was funny because when I was
Verizon wouldn't do that.
when I was on the phone with Boost Mobile, like releasing my phone number, they were like, "Oh, well, Mr. Guerrero, you've been a customer now for over 10 years," and I was like, "I get that." I was like, and I was like, "But what's my account number?" They're telling me it's like 0000124. And the guy at Metro PCS, his eyes got huge. He's like, dude, this is like one of the first 150 accounts. And I was I told him, I was like, well, I've had the same number since I was, 17 years old. I was like, I didn't really see a reason to change my number.
Yeah, I don't want to change my number either. That was the other thing AT&T wanted.
Yeah.
I want. It would have been nice to have my husband and me on the same account. If they had to change my number, I said no.
That's what I'm saying. Like at that point, like if somebody's like, oh, well, you have to change your number to join.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be like, nope.
No, not gonna do it.
I tell them like I've had this number way too long.
Yeah, yeah.
Way too long. Like
Well, I actually have a Chicago number because that's what I did to get, and this was the end of the '90s. To
Okay.
get the international service with AT&T, we didn't have it in Michigan, so my husband was working in Chicago.
okay,
So I got a phone number there.
game the system a little bit. Yeah.
Right. So, and now it doesn't matter where your number comes from. My son's number is from Baltimore, where he lived for a while.
Okay. Well, and that's the thing. Like the last time I've had to memorize a phone number was a long time ago. Never even had to memorize phone numbers.
Yeah.
You know, and I still remember like my phone numbers when I was a kid, like our landline phone numbers, but
Yeah, me too. And that was a long time ago. It was 3 letters and a number.
yep, 3 letters and a number. But yeah, like a good contrast for my phone numbers is like this phone number is an old 422 phone number, which Sprint doesn't even own 422 phone numbers anymore. Like 616, and then it's a 422 for the prefix. This one is 616, but it's like 432.
Yeah. Huh.
And I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
I was like, Sprint hasn't owned 422 numbers since like 2007.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, and it was one of those things like and my phone number is really easy for me to remember. So I'm like, you know what? Perfect.
Yeah. So when we get toward Saugatuck, I usually take the first exit.
Okay.
And then take Blue Star.
All right, yeah, we can do that.
And you have to backtrack just a tiny bit to take the second exit. I mean, we're actually closer to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can
Yeah.
take the first exit there. That's fine.
I mean, we're doing work on it, but I think they've been doing that bike trail. It's been really controversial.
Yeah. I think they finished that up.
Did they finish it?
Yeah, I believe so, because they had it all opened up last weekend when I was driving. So
Yeah, we've donated money to the bike trail and get a charge out of the big controversy about in Saugatuck about not letting it go through.
oh yeah.
Villages get worked up about little things.
You know, normally when I'm on this part of 96, 196, usually it's very windy right here. And wind's just blowing around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but it's not very windy today. Although I took my girlfriend and her kids to the lake yesterday, to the state park in Holland.
Yeah.
And or tunnel park, I should say,
Yeah.
the state park. And it was very, like, the water was so warm. It was like 78 degrees at
Really?
least. Yep.
Wow.
But it was so windy that those
Yeah.
waves were about 4 feet
I haven't
apiece.
even been in the lake yet.
Yeah, it was intense. Like the way, like the kids were having fun. You know, they were like, "Oh, I really like it." And I was like,
kids never know it.
"Well, right." And I told them, I was like, "Guys, I was like, you can't go past your belly."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, why not?" And I was like, "Because like those waves are like 4 foot high." I was like, "And you're like 4'1". I was like, "And you're gonna get knocked over."
Yeah.
And as I went out even a little bit further out, like I was getting knocked over by these
Yeah,
waves,
wow.
and I'm 180 pounds almost.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, okay, it's like this is intense, you know, and it was fun though. Like the water was beautifully warm. It was,
Yeah.
It felt great.
No, I love those Lake Michigan beaches.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing. Like during this year has been the most I've been to the lake in probably 15 years, 16
Yeah.
years. And I don't know. I didn't like when I was married to my ex-wife. We didn't really do much. Like we're kind of homebodies, you
Yeah.
know. And now with my new girlfriend, like her kids like to do stuff, and now I'm starting to like to do stuff.
That's
So
great.
I'm
There's so
enjoying
much to do around here. It's really
it.
fun.
Exactly, you know. And she moved from Grand Rapids.
Ah.
And,
So where do you live? Do you live in Holland?
Yep,
Or you live,
yep.
You live in Holland. Great.
And she works at a greenhouse in Zealand called Walter's Gardens,
Yeah.
right off of 96 and Chicago Drive. And she likes it there, and I told her, well, that's good. I was like, I'm glad that, you know, you found a job that you like.
Yeah.
And I told her, like, that's all that matters. I mean, like, when it comes to the working part of, you know, life, I was like, find a job that you like to do.
Yes. Yes.
It may not pay the most money.
Yeah, but it's also life.
Right. And at least it's going to make you want to go to work every probably why I drive Uber. Like I like the independent part of it. Like I like being able to.
Yeah, you can decide when you want to work.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think it's been a real boon to.
Oh yeah.
And other downsides.
I mean, there are some downsides. Like some people, they do it for real quick cash to maybe they're addicted to something or whatever, and they're using it for that reason. But luckily, I don't have that problem. I don't have to worry about it because I don't ever do any of that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm okay.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, it's all. Every trip is always a new, interesting ride. You always get to have some fun with it. So.
That's great.
I forgot how long of a stretch this is down 196.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about a mile out to the exit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My ex-wife's brother used to work for Schneider.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was not a good truck driver. He was not a good truck driver at all. He was always damaging the trucks and the trailers. And he'd get mad when they take it out of his pay, and I was like, what do you think's gonna happen? I was like, they gotta recoup that cost. He's like, well, why is a trailer door $1,000? And I was like, because they're $1,000.
No, but when you see these big pile-ups on like 94, there's always a truck involved.
Oh yeah.
So I think it would be really risky.
Well, like yesterday on M6, I saw a trailer in between the median, truck and trailer, and I was like, how do you even manage to do that? And it was broad daylight.
Yeah, no ice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm not a truck driver, so maybe he dozed off at the wheel.
Yeah, could be.
And then when I worked at the Holland Sentinel and I was delivering papers, like I was doing like their store deliveries, I would go all the way down to Glen.
Oh my.
Yeah. It was fun. It was always fun.
Yeah. Well, it feels good to be home.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's beautiful weather right now.
Yeah.
It's not too crazy hot right now. It was very. On the 4th, it was
it hot?
Yeah, it was like 88 degrees, 89 degrees, and it was very humid hot.
Huh.
And so the kids were like, or my girlfriend and my son were like, well, let's go to the beach. Well, we go to the beach, and all of the beaches were packed. They had closed all the parking for the state park, for Tunnel Park, and so then they had an additional spot a little further down where you could pay $7 to park.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I was like, it's really busy.
Yeah, that's busy.
And the water was ice cold.
Ooh.
It was like, but it was so warm outside. Like it was just very, very warm. And go figure, the day that the water has been the warmest, yesterday.
Yeah.
The waves were intense. Just knocking people around.
That was probably what was bringing the warm water.
Oh yeah. Because you figure all that water that sits in the middle of the lake.
Yeah.
In between Chicago and Michigan.
Right.
It's just like sitting there collecting all that sun, and that nice wind current just brings all that warm water in.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like science for the kids.
Right. Right.
They get to learn all about the water getting warmer.
They can experience it and then ask questions and
exactly
learn something. Yeah, that's great.
You can always gather something from it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that it'll probably stay relatively busy out here, this afternoon and this evening, which is a good thing. I mean.
Yeah.
I don't mind driving into Grand Rapids, but I don't mind driving through here either.
Yeah, well, that's great that this is open now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they had it. I want to say they had it shut down for just a couple of days last week, at the beginning of the week, and then they finished it up. So, well, they're still doing some work on Old Allegan Road. So, and that's only on the east side of it, so it wasn't too bad. So I was like, all right. I was like, that's not too bad. But yeah, it's always fun. Like I never foresaw myself as being a driver.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, I'm not gonna be a driver, and I love it now. Like I can't imagine not doing it.
It's great. And you're able to make a good enough living?
Yep.
I mean, I noticed that the rates just went up.
I did. Like, well, they increased the booking fee back to what it was last year, ironically enough. You know, I was like, okay. I was like, so they're putting the booking fee back to what it was.
Yeah. Huh.
And the way that, like, the pay scale works now with Uber is, like, what you pay to Uber for your ride isn't directly correlated with what the driver gets paid.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay. And so usually that means one of two things. Like, Uber might then send the drivers an email saying, hey, we're going to bump the drivers' rates up a little bit, because they can do that without charging the passenger extra money.
Right.
Because, you know, with the additional booking fee charge, you know, they're taking a little bit more. So it makes it so that they're able to, you know, hopefully.
Well, it is a clever business model.
It is. It is a very, very, very clever business model. You know, and of course, when they first got into business, Travis and his right-hand man guy, they were waiting for a taxi for like 2 hours. That's why they started Uber.
Ah, really?
Yeah, that was the story behind it. They were waiting in the rain.
Oh, interesting.
And they'd called for a taxi. They told them it was going to take 2 hours. And so they said that there needed to be a faster way to get a ride.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
And it ended up...
Is he from the Bay Area?
Yes.
California?
Yeah.
San Francisco?
Yeah, Silicon Valley.
Valley.
Yeah. And I was like, all right.
Yeah. Well, and globally it's taken off too. And so a lot of countries, in South Africa, I couldn't get Uber to come up, but it exists there, I guess, but it's a South African Uber, so I don't know how that works. In Greece, it was just the same.
Yeah, and most of the time it's going to be, you know, typically the same. I mean, I'd imagine that certain countries may be like, all right, well, you know, we have our own type of rideshare platform, or, you know, something of that nature. And right now, like for Uber, they're on a mission to try to repair their
public image.
Their image with the public.
Yeah.
And a lot of the drivers are like, oh, well, they're just doing it for the riders. I was like, well, no. I was like, they're doing it in general because, you know, the past 6 months.
They got to compete with, but I guess I didn't understand how it worked with Lyft. But
well, Lyft is the strongest competitor for Uber.
Yeah.
Obviously. You know, I mean, they're still a far second behind, you know, with market shares, but that's the closest competition that Uber's ever going to have.
Yeah. And when I looked at global coverage, I mean, Uber is almost everywhere globally. And Lyft is really the United States and a little bit in Asia.
Yeah, I was going to say a little bit in Asia. And originally Lyft had started in California, like Uber, and it was meant for...
so then take a left on this first street. Yeah, I will just cut through the backside of... the east side of Douglas.
All right. But yeah, originally Lyft was designed as... because apparently there was something in the news back when Uber first started. There was a gay couple that was refused to ride by their driver.
Oh, really?
Yep. And so Lyft originally their marketing campaign was, it's a safe ride.
Yeah.
You know, and you're accepted no matter what. Like that was their pulling point.
Their marketing, yeah.
And you know, then it evolved into everybody.
Yeah.
Which is what Uber did too, because when Uber first started, it was Uber Black, and they were all very nice luxury sedans, and the rides were much more expensive. But Uber was like, all right, we can capitalize on this and give affordable rides to everybody. Yeah. And they did.
Yeah.
You know, and to do that, they had to bring down the driver rates, obviously.
Yeah. So go left when you get to the stop.
Alrighty. And some of the drivers, you know, they got mad about rate cuts, you know, and stuff like that. And I always tell drivers, you know, I'm like, you just got to work smarter. Yeah. I was like, if Uber wants to bring the rates down, you just got to, you know, be smarter when you're out driving.
Yeah. Antique market.
It looks so fun out here right now. Tons and tons of fun out here. Yeah. Are we going to go up to the next stop sign? Okay.
Go right. And, you know, you can go either way. Yeah. This way you're on the...
This would be super fun in the snow on this four-way right here, though. This would be fun.
Yeah.
Then take it up to 130th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we're just off 130th.
Alright.
Which right here is called Wiley Road. In front of us changes to Riverside. Or River, I can't remember. Changes its name.
Well, you know, and that's what I like when when people are like, oh, well, Holland's a really nice place. It's like, yeah, well, so is Douglas and Saugatuck and Fenville. I was like, they're all very nice areas.
Yeah. Yeah, Fenville's really come up. It used to be just a sleepy little farming town.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it used to be, like, when I first moved to Holland back in 2007, I was like, Fenville. I was like, that doesn't sound like it's anything. We went out there, I think, once or twice, and there wasn't much there even in 2007, but then over the past 10 years, it's just, it's really grown up.
Well, it had that great Mexican restaurant until they overbuilt.
Yeah.
They're now in South Haven, I just discovered.
Yeah.
That was too bad, because they were great. They were really good Mexican restaurants.
Yeah, it was like authentic Mexican food. It was actually authentic. It tasted good.
Right, they have a really big Mexican-American community there. Yeah, so then left.
Yeah, all right.
And you can go out however you want, obviously, but...
And see, very light traffic.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, so the left turn into our development is just after 64th Street. It goes to the right. Oh, I don't know if that's a big deer or if that was a real deer standing there.
Might have been. It could have been a real deer.
Yeah.
Deer run rampant out this way.
But we don't see that many because we've got coyotes, but and fox. It turns out the fox have been eating all the baby cranes, which is very sad.
Yeah.
But we've seen deer swimming out to the wetlands, which is amazing.
That would be pretty cool to see, though.
Yeah, I didn't even know they could swim.
Well, it's kind of like when you throw a cat in the water. Like they don't like it, but they don't want to drown.
Yeah. And I knew when we were we did a safari in Botswana in the Okabanga Delta, so it's they only have water like half the year.
Okay.
And there are these deer, these red deer that have developed sort of clippers.
Oh wow.
Their hooves are much bigger than the usual deer hooves.
Oh, that's.
And when you hear them running through the wetlands down there, they make this huge whooshing sound, so you can hear them coming.
Well, that'd be really cool, though.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So
this is 64 to the right, and the next turn is to the left.
Alright.
For a while, they had a speed zone here that was only 35, and then I noticed they took it out. And the cars go zooming past here, so sometimes turning left is very.
I was gonna say that's almost like a blind spot right there,
it's
too.
a blind spot. Yeah, it's very tricky to get out. And then even turning left into here, you really, because there are all those curves and so just keep following this around. It goes. So this is Newport, and then it's Harbor, and we're actually Harbor into the woods.
All right.
Our neighbors just to the right at the end of the road have a Airbnb, and they put a name on it because it was so hard for people to find it.
Which is understandable.
Yeah,
Although this would be a really nice Airbnb out here. This would be very nice.
They've just built a swimming pool, so yeah, it's very. They're fully booked. They're really. Yeah. So at the very end of the circle, you just go into the left. Our neighbors have a sign up. We don't have ours up. My husband's very slow with these things, so just left into the woods here. We have a sculpture that we still left down in Kalamazoo that he's going to bring up and really plant into the ground and then put.
Are we going to be this back one?
Yeah, and that's our garage actually. So
this is the garage?
This is the garage.
That's
a
really big garage.
With the library on the top.
Alright, so just follow us around?
Here, yeah, follow around. Oh, it looks like one of the guys is working. Great. I wonder what he's doing if the power's out. Okay, so we're all set?
Yep, we are all set. Let me grab that hatch for you.
Great.
I gotta get some pavements in your driveway so it's nice and fun.